shall we? Yeah. Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome. Welcome to the Ventura Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Bonnie Rose, and we have a wonderful Sunday planned for you this morning. Thank you so much for coming out in all this rain. How about that rain, right? Pretty cool, yeah. Yeah, very cool. So we have a different order of service today than we usually do because we have our special guests, Larissa Stone, Shakti Tribe. Let's give them some love. Let us give a big round of Ventura love to Larissa Stone and Shakti Tribe.
Good morning, everyone. So we have a new one for you. For some of you, we may have two new ones, depending. Aham Pramas, I am divine love. So sing with us. The temple and the dark lagoon, when the sun begins to fade, there is a light that will remain.
The little conversation I just had with Larissa down in front. I asked her, so what do those words mean? And it means I am divine love. I'm Brahma. I am divine love. Can you say that after me? I am divine love. And now look at someone else and say, you are divine love. You are divine love. And find somebody else and say, you are divine love to them. You are divine love. Is it true? Yes. Do we always act like it's true? You guys just scored 100% on this Sunday morning's quiz because yes, oh my goodness, we are divine love, you are divine love, I am divine love, everyone is divine love, the ants are divine love, the tick that I found on my dog yesterday is divine love, our politicians are divine love, everything. Everything is divine love. How could it be that everything is divine love? Oh, but this person over here is the exception. Do you see how much ego there is in that? Everything is divine love. And I think, I always meditate at the beginning of the year, what are we doing this year? What are we doing in this spiritual center? People always ask me what the vision is, and if they ask me too soon, I just go, I don't know. I don't know, ask God, I don't know. But this year, I am so clear that we are called to live as if the truth is true, to live that truth of divine love, to live that truth of peace, to live that truth of grace, to live that truth of kindness. And this morning, because I'm doing a talk called Celebrating the All-sufficiency, living today and tomorrow and the day after as if all-sufficiency is true. All-sufficiency in our love, all-sufficiency in our peace, all-sufficiency in our relationship, all-sufficiency in our finances, all-sufficiency in our friendships, all-sufficiency in our homes, in our workplaces, all-sufficiency around the world so that all of our brothers and sisters have all-sufficiency, enough to eat, a warm place to sleep, and warm clothing. Does that sound like a good idea? Yes. Thank you. Living as if the truth of all-sufficiency is true. Living as if that truth is true. Declaring that this year is the year of all sufficiency. Okay? It is. It can't be any other way. It already is the year of all sufficiency. Freudian slip. It was the year of insufficiency. Now it is the year of all sufficiency. Because it can't be any other way, and it's both all at the same time, but we'll get to that later. Many of us, for too long, have been shackled by the chains of insufficiency. We have claimed insufficiency as our reality in our friendships, in our relationships, in our finances, in our workplaces, in our time management, in everything. We have claimed the reality of insufficiency and named it true, but it is time to change that. It is time to move to something else. So take a moment to look at your life and see, where am I believing in insufficiency? Do I believe that there is not enough time? Do I believe that there is not enough money? Do I believe that there is not enough love? And do I believe that I am not enough? That, to me, seems to be the crux of a lot of our challenges as human beings, human divine beings. The belief that somehow we are flawed and inadequate, when in truth we are spiritually perfect, and our flaws and our inadequacies are part of that spiritual perfection. The thought of undeserving holds us back from receiving our good. And it is God's good pleasure to give us the kingdom, and it is our good pleasure to receive it, to fulfill the desires of God. We receive the all-sufficiency of God that always is, that is always existent in everything. We receive it through the power of our thought. I don't think there's any other way to do it. There is grace, but we help the evolution of grace. We open up the door for grace to shine its light by cultivating the power of our thought. And by power, I don't mean willing things to happen. I mean the power of willingness, surrender, and non-resistance. Here's what I know about our thought. We make up stuff all the time. And we call it true. There's a story in this book, It's All God, our featured book for this month. It's a story about a man who had a wife, and his wife became ill. And so he lived in a land where there were house calls from doctors. So he called the doctor, and the doctor made a house call. And the doctor came walking up to the guy's house carrying his little black doctor's bag, and he said, "Where's your wife?" And the husband said, "My wife is in the bedroom. Please go heal her." And so the doctor went into the bedroom. 2 minutes later, he stuck his head out of the bedroom door and he said, "Do you have a nail file?" The man said, "Well, yes." And he brought the doctor a nail file. 2 minutes later, the doctor stuck his head out the door again and said, "Do you have a corkscrew?" The husband said, "What, are you drinking wine in there? What?" So he got him a corkscrew and he gave it to the doctor. 3 minutes later, the doctor stuck his head out again and he said, "Do you have a hammer and a chisel?" The man said, "What is going on in there?" "But yes, I do have a hammer and a chisel. Here it is. Take it, knock yourself out, go for it." And then one more time, the doctor stuck his head out and he said, "Do you have a chainsaw?" And at this point, the man said, "Oh my God, what is going on in there? What is wrong with my wife? What are you doing to her? What is wrong with her?" And the doctor said, "I have no idea what's wrong with your wife. I can't even get my little black bag open." So the husband made up this elaborate story. Not only did he make up this elaborate story that there was something so wrong with his wife that she required a chainsaw to be healed, but he made up this elaborate story, and then, this is the key part, he believed in it. He believed in his story. Do you believe in your story of insufficiency? Do you believe in your story of scarcity? Do you believe in your story of not enough? I'm willing to bet that perhaps one or two of us, perhaps even the person standing on the stage, has one or two stories about insufficiency that we still believe in. Also in this book, it talks about something that you've probably heard before. It's not new information, but that when we have thoughts, when we have repetitive thoughts, it reworks the neurological passages in our brain, right? So it almost like creates a groove in our brain. He uses the word groove, and I like the word groove, so I'll use it too. It creates a groove in our brain, and this just becomes the way we think. It is the groove in our brain. But it's a new year, and we have declared this the year of all sufficiency. So it's time to shake your groove thing. The wisdom of disco. It is time to shake up your groove thing and to let go of the old thoughts and create a new groove in your brain, a new groove that is rooted in the spiritual truth of the all-sufficiency in everything. You may have a compelling story about insufficiency. You may believe that your compelling story is true. You may be even gathering tons of evidence to support this compelling story that you have about insufficiency, right? Anybody? But what if insufficiency is actually part of all-sufficiency? What if, as Eric Butterworth says, in every insufficiency there is an all-sufficiency? What if, as it says in the Tao, that we enter into sufficiency while it is still insufficiency? That means we believe in sufficiency while we still face the appearances of insufficiency. What if you're me and you know that every time there is an obstacle, you know that that is not evidence of insufficiency, that is just evidence that you get to use your creative powers in a new and wonderful and exciting way? What if that's the truth? I'm here to tell you it is the truth, because the truth about sufficiency and insufficiency is that they both coexist simultaneously all the time, because God is everything. God is in our sufficiency and in our insufficiency. It's like the glass half full and the glass half empty. When we ask people, is the glass half full or the glass half empty, usually people think the right answer is, oh, the glass is half full, definitely. I'm going to be all sunny and positive and believe that the glass is half full. But the truth is, when I ask the question, is the glass half full or is the glass half empty, the answer to that question is yes. The glass is simultaneously half full and half empty. But your experience of the glass depends on which you choose to focus upon, and also what's in the glass, and the story that you tell yourself about what's in the glass. Is it champagne or is it Metamucil? To some of us, this is a good thing. To some of us, this is a good thing. I'll let you decide. Yeah, it's kind of sad because I really, at this stage of my life, prefer the glass on this, on this side. Our life is the same way. Our life is both half full and half empty, and it's what is it full or empty of, and the story that we tell about it that determines our experience of life. Another way to look at this is to look at the fruit trees around us. How wonderful it is that we live in Southern California where there is an abundance of fruit trees. And right now the citrus trees are going crazy and they're putting out oranges and all that stuff. But the apple trees, I have an apple tree in my backyard and my apple tree isn't doing anything. It's just sitting there. The leaves are all bare. The leaves have fallen off my plumeria tree and the flowers aren't blooming. So does that mean I go cut it down? No, absolutely not. It's going through a barren period, and that barren period is a period of rest, which is part of the all-sufficiency of that tree, and that life force that moves through that tree creates the flowers and the fruit that come out of it. And the same thing is true for us. Yes, we will have barren periods. We will have periods of insufficiency, or the appearance of insufficiency, but that appearance of insufficiency is truly all-sufficiency in disguise. And you know where fruit comes out? Loaded question. It comes out at the end of a limb. And I believe that in order for us to experience our all-sufficiency, if we have gotten stuck in the habit of insufficiency, the way for us to experience the all-sufficiency of God is to go way out on a limb. Yeah. And what does that mean? For us, it means changing our thinking. It means changing our thinking no matter how much we don't want to. It means changing our thinking no matter how much we believe that is just bull and that's not going to do anything, right? You know who's saying those things about changing our thinking doesn't really work, changing our thinking? My story's true, everybody else's is not true, but my story is true. This spiritual stuff about all-sufficiency, that doesn't apply to me. You know who's telling that story in your head? The voice of insufficiency. The voice of insufficiency is taking hold, saying, yeah, changing your thinking is really insufficient. It's not really going to work for someone like you. It doesn't really work for anybody. It's just all bogus. Those spiritual people, they're just making it up, aren't they? Right? Changing our thinking. Shaking our groove things. Getting out of that rut that we've been thinking into for so long. Moving into that place where we accept and we embrace the power and the presence of the yin and the yang, the all-sufficiency and the insufficiency, all of it working together to create something magnificent, where we identify with the wholeness that gave birth to both of those opposite qualities, that gives birth to all opposite qualities, and that is so magnificent and so great, and yet so tiny that it plays itself out in the beauty and the power of the moment-by-moment fragments and seconds and choices of our lives. How powerful is that? How wonderful is that? How magnificent is that? Walter Starkey in this book talks about, and I believe this so much to be true, that as much as we want to deny it, really the way to change our lives is to change the way that we think about our lives. It is so compelling, so tempting to say, well, I don't like this thing in my life, so I'm going to work out here to change this. No, we work in here. We work in here to change our perception, our concepts, our ideas, our thoughts about our lives. That's how true spiritual change evolves. Where's mine? No, it's okay. It's all right. Oh, that's so sweet. No, I don't drink caffeine, but thank you. Thank you. That's very sweet. Talk about all-sufficiency, right? Ask and it is given. So we change our lives by turning off our cell phones and celebrating the all-sufficiency of grace in everything. And really what that means, I can break it down into really simple terms for us. This will be familiar to you, but we have to actually do it. There's the catch, okay? The first thing is to recognize when we are working from a standpoint of insufficiency. Because this year is the year of all-sufficiency with me, I have been minding my mind very carefully and looking at where I go into a place of believing in insufficiency. And usually the behavior that results from my belief in insufficiency is whining, complaining, feeling stressed out, worry. All of those things reflect a belief in insufficiency. So if you struggle with any of those qualities or any other qualities, celebrate it. It's a beautiful portal, a beautiful opening to the realization that there is something in you that is seeking greater expression, some all-sufficiency within you that is wanting to be expressed and experienced. So notice what you're doing. Notice your belief in insufficiency and how it is manifesting in your thought. And then rather than resist it, simply replace it. Replace. Don't resist. Allow it to be, because it is your teacher. It has told you where there is something in your thought that is seeking greater expression. But then just replace it with a higher thought. And the thought that I generally replace my beliefs in insufficiency with is the thought that sounds like a question. Because it's so individualized, so tailor-made for every single moment of our lives. It being God is so tailor-made for every single moment of our lives. So if I'm noticing myself stuck in insufficiency, I will simply notice it, release it, let it go, and then ask a question to replace it. What would all sufficiency do here? What would all sufficiency do? What would all sufficiency think? What would all sufficiency say? What would all sufficiency wear? What would all sufficiency eat? Whatever it is. And what a magical and powerful way to go through life, a way to retrain those grooves in our brain into seeking the quality of all sufficiency and manifesting it in our thought, in our words, and our deeds, so that it overflows from us and that we can share it with the entire world around us. Your work in all sufficiency is important, and it blesses the world. And not only does it bless the world, it blesses your world. I'm just so excited for all of you. I really am. I really am, because you're here this morning. You are here by divine appointment, and these words are true, and if we take them and apply them to our lives can be magnificent. And that hope and that dream and that aspiration and that grace that is longing to shoot through us like the energy in a fruit tree, if we go out on a limb and change our thoughts, all of that is made manifest. So in the spirit of all sufficiency, when I was meditating yesterday and trying to figure out what to say this morning, I realized I didn't really have a way to end this thing. So in the spirit of all sufficiency, I asked, what would all sufficiency do? And the answer I get more than anything is relax and trust God. I said, okay, I will relax and trust God, but God, if you could send me a dream, I'd be really, really happy. And so last night I had 2 dreams, because God is all-sufficient and God gives us more than what we ask for. In the first dream, I was driving down Main Street in Ventura in my car, and there was somebody running alongside me outside the window, an aspect of myself, perhaps, an aspect that is sort of apart from me. But this person was telling me this gigantic, dramatic story about what was wrong with her life. And so I was driving like this, looking at this person, and I smacked into a truck. I woke up and said, thanks, God. What else you got? The second dream was also taking place in my car. I was driving in my car, and I knew that I was going to be driving down Main Street in Ventura and that there was going to be a truck in the road. So instead of driving down the street, I stopped at a restaurant to ask people what I should do. Everybody in the restaurant, AKA the committee, the committee said, oh, you don't want to drive down that street. Oh, that truck is too big for you. Oh, you'll never get around that truck. But there was one person sitting separate from the crowd, one person dressed in white. And that person said, you know what? I think you can do it. But you have to let me drive. It's a good dream, eh? But it's not over. It's not over. I got in the back seat of the car, let the higher wisdom self of me in her white outfit drive the car, and we drove down the road, and the truck was there, and the closer we got, we saw that it was transparent, and we drove right through it. I love that dream, don't you? Yes. So I love that dream. I love that dream for me, but I also love that dream for you. There may be an obstacle in your life. There may be something that feels like a Mack truck in your Main Street. You may be trying so hard to drive that car and scale that wall and climb through it. It may be your belief in insufficiency. It may be your belief in something else. But if it doesn't feel good, if it doesn't feel uplifting, if it doesn't feel life-affirming, it is not true. It is part of a greater truth. It is the shadow side of a greater truth. So our joy is to move from the shadow into the light and to see the truth of all sufficiency in everything. This is the year of all sufficiency, and you are in it, and we are in it together. Let's celebrate it. Let's change the world. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so let's have a word of prayer now, just to anchor in those thoughts and those words. And I invite you just to be still and know, to breathe in and breathe out and move to that sacred place that is always with you, that place of joy, of peace, of understanding, that place that some of us call God, some of us call higher power, many of us call it spirit. And most certainly, it is love. For it is love that formed this world. It is love that gave itself into the world so that love might experience greater love, so that love might love love. Love, 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 love. And so I connect with that essence of love, and I call it my own, and I name it as myself. And as I do this for myself, I know that this is true for everyone sitting here in this sacred sanctuary today, because there is only one of us here, and that one of us is the body of God. It is all God, the flowers and the fertilizer. We get to decide which one we are in any given moment. And so in this place of recognizing that everything is God, that it is all God, we look together at our lives and we see where we may be believing in insufficiency, in scarcity, in not enough. We take a moment just to do that. And without blame, without telling ourselves how we should feel, we just look at that area of insufficiency and just say, thank you so much for being my teacher. Thank you so much for loving me, for sacrificing, for showing up as this thing that I have scorned and ridiculed. Thank you so much for bearing that for me. And now, I set you free. I release you. I release the thought about insufficiency that has been holding me captive. I just release it and I let it go. Let's breathe in and then exhale and let that thought of insufficiency go. And then in that space that has been created, we feel the spaciousness and we claim in that spaciousness the answer to the question, what would all sufficiency do? Or what would all sufficiency think? Or what would all sufficiency feel? Whatever is the question for you. And allow the answer to come. Allow the answer to form itself. And if no answer comes, then just trust that sometimes we have a delayed response to prayers. And sometimes when you're in the shower or doing something where you're not thinking about praying, the answer just floods into your life, into your consciousness. And so in this place of togetherness, we affirm together that all life is God's life, all life is sufficient, and all grace is given unto us. We give thanks for the spiritual work that has taken place here. We give thanks for these small changes that happen in our life, knowing that there are no small changes, that even if it feels like it's insignificant, even if it feels like minutia, the changing of one tiny, tired thought sets something new in motion in our minds, in our hearts, in our beings, in the life of God that is seeking greater expression through us. We give thanks for this beautiful process that was given to us, through us, by God. We give thanks for this teaching. I bless this spiritual center and everyone in it. I bless all paths to God, churches, temples, mosques, ashrams. I bless fundamentalists and atheists, for I know that everyone is a blessing. And with a heart that is so filled with gratitude, I say, thank you, Spirit, thank you, God. And I release these words, and together we say, and so it is. And let's just do I am so blessed as a call and response. So I'll say, I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I am. And so it is. And so in the spirit of this blessedness, I invite you now to feel that energy of all-sufficiency and allow this consciousness to inform you and move through you as you engage in the sacred practice of giving. Giving is truly an awakened practice where we get to apply the principles and allow them to move us in seen and unseen ways. So let us give with the full consciousness of circulation, of grace, of joy and abundance, trusting and knowing that all is well. And in the spirit of that circulation, I invite you to gently place your hands over your heart. And to breathe in and breathe out. And feel that divine circulation, that is moving through always, that heartbeat, that breath. How sweet it is to hear the sounds of the band preparing to play again, knowing that they soon will circulate their wisdom and their love. And in the spirit of that circulation, I invite you to please repeat after me. I trust in spirit. God is the giver and receiver of all that I am. I offer my gift. It is an outward expression of my inner abundance. My gift blesses many and returns to me multiplied in miraculous ways. And so it is.
Bonnie, I love your dream so much. To choose, we have so many different aspects of self, because we are everything. Yes? And to choose who we want to drive our car. The energy in life, giving ourselves permission to open, to let go of those parts that don't serve us, and to open to what really fills our hearts and nourishes us. If I could